What's up, everybody? Matt Gajewski here, back again with the Odd Shopper channel. And today we're talking college basketball national championship odds. Before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. We're also brought to you by Bet365. We'll be using their natty odds in this video, but they have a limited time offer that you need to take advantage of. If you live in Kentucky, Ohio, New Jersey, Virginia, Iowa, Colorado, Louisiana, Indiana, Arizona, or North Carolina. If I said your state, what you're going to do is click the link in the video description below, make your first deposit of at least $10, make a $5 wager at least on any team, total market, whatever you want. Whether that wins or loses, you are getting $150 in the form of bonus bets. $150 you didn't have that you can use throughout March Madness or on anything you like, really. You must be 21 or older to play, 18 in Kentucky. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, the structure of this video, we are going to go sort of bracket by bracket. We're going to do teams that have the best value statistically to win the national championship. We're going to do the most overvalued teams in the market, and then we'll do a long shot section, talking maybe 3 teams apiece. I'll bring you to the Bet365 odds page. This is where you're going to find national championship odds. This is a little small, I realize. I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this so we can maybe see it a little bit better. All right, that is much better. Okay, so we're going to start with the top value. So, of course, at the top, you see your 1 seeds, followed by your 2 seeds. And then Auburn, interestingly, is the next team up that is not a 2 seed. But we're going to start with Creighton, plus 1,100. First of all, teams that win the national championship typically meet a lot of thresholds. So basically, these teams, when you look at them, 22 of the last 24 national champions have been top 18 in offense. And then 23 of the last 24 champions have been top 37 in defense. So those are kind of nice little parameters to use. We're going to talk teams that either are close, fall into this range, or maybe don't and are overrated. So Creighton, this team is number 12 in offense, 26th in defense. Their draw in this bracket, I think, is pretty favorable. Overall, Creighton, they have, a first-round matchup that I think is winnable against Akron. They're going to face the winner of South Carolina and Oregon. South Carolina, a team that was picked last to win the SEC. And Oregon, a team that probably shouldn't be here. That's tough to say because they dealt with so many injuries, but they needed to win the Pac-12 to get here. So it's a good second-round draw. And then from there, they'll face some combination of like a Texas or a Tennessee if they're able to come out of their region. Tennessee has their own concerns. We'll mention that in a second. But Creighton has everything you want. As a team, this team is elite at shooting threes. Right now, they are 53rd in three-point percentage. They're number 3 in the country in effective field goal. They have a big man in Ryan Kalkbrenner, putting them at 5th in effective height. Offense and defense, again, 12 on offense, 26 in defense, falling fully into those parameters. They have a 3-guard and 3-point shooter in Baylor Shireman, who's over 40% and an excellent rebounder. And then a point guard in Trey Alexander, who can handle the ball too. So a team that is comprised to potentially make a run to the national championship. The only thing that concerns me is depth. You basically have 5 guys, and they don't go much deeper than that. But as far as value goes, I think Creighton is one we should immediately highlight at the plus 1,100. Next up for values, some people might throw me some shade with this one, but it's actually right below Creighton with Duke. This team is number 10 in offense, 29 in defense. Falls firmly under those parameters we talked about. The draw for Duke is interesting. You're going to play Vermont in round 1. Vermont is not healthy right now. Don't see any issues there. Wisconsin's a very dangerous matchup in the round of 32. We'll talk about the Badgers in a little bit. They actually meet a lot of these thresholds themselves. And we're ranked 6th in the country at one point, hit a slump, and now they've returned to at least close to that number 6 ranking. And then, of course, it's a tough region. You'll have some combination of Houston, Nebraska, A&M most likely following that. So the road is not easy for Duke, but they're a team that's deep. You have Philip Kowski on the interior, Mitchell on the interior, plenty of guards with Roach and Proctor, and they're getting awesome minutes out of McCain. Just inconsistent, and they lack physicality on the inside, which troubles me if you potentially face off against Houston in an Elite 8 or something like that. But Duke firmly in these thresholds. Plus 1,400 is a solid mark for them just value-wise. And the last one that I think is a decent value up here is Gonzaga. They're number 8 in offense, 51 on defense, so they don't quite meet these thresholds. but they played better of late if you just isolate recent play. They're the last team I really even want to just mention in this category. I do think the top two values overall are going to be Creighton and Duke among the chalk teams. Let's get to our second section. This is the overrated section. So teams that have pretty good odds to win the national championship, but for some reason they have a fatal flaw and they're unlikely to win the tournament. The first one is Illinois. 1,400. These odds are awesome, and I like Illinois a lot. This team has shown the ability to win big games, including the Big Ten tournament, where they beat Wisconsin in a very close competitive game environment. Their path is not that difficult, in my opinion. You're facing likely BYU in the second round, a team that is a good stylistic matchup for Illinois. Then you have some combination of Washington State, Drake, or Iowa State. Iowa State probably be the trickiest opponent there, but of course, UConn is in your region. That's going to be tricky once you get to a potential Elite Eight matchup. But the problem with Illinois is this team doesn't play any defense. They're number 4 in offense. That's awesome. 92nd in defense. 92nd. We've seen this team routinely giving up 80 points in games to opponents that shouldn't be scoring that mark. And they also have a weird roster. You're playing Coleman Hawkins at the 5. He's 6'10", and he's going to cede size to other bigs, especially when you run into a team like UConn who has a Klingon on the inside. It's a major advantage for the opponent that does have size against you. And from there, Illinois is not the best shooting team in the country. When you run into good guard defense, which you're going to against Iowa State and Taman Lipsey and Gilbert, how do these guards handle it? Because you do have Terrence Shannon, you do have Damask. Damask isn't even shooting 30% from 3. This team is actually 122nd in three-point defense. They win through shot creation and iso ball. That could be a tough matchup for Illinois in the Sweet 16 as well. So they're an overrated team at plus 1,400. We'll be looking to get some odds elsewhere. Second overrated team is Kentucky. This is a team that's still at 1,400 as well. It's like Illinois, but only worse. This team is 5th in offensive efficiency, 123 in defense. Now, the difference with Kentucky is I think you have a higher outcome on the ceiling end. There's a bunch of NBA players in this roster. They have 3 7-footers. You have the bodies to throw at really any type of team. You know, if Kentucky runs into a Purdue, I personally think their best path to victory should just play their 7-footers, kick it inside, and try to get Edey in foul trouble because you have depth among your 7-footers. They haven't been able to do that, though, just straight up, flat out. They have some of the best wins in the country and some of the worst losses. And the path for Kentucky, I think, is reasonable. You're in a pretty weak area of the bracket. You're playing Oakland in round 1. It's essentially a bye. You get Texas Tech without Warren Washington potentially in round 2, or an NC State team that shouldn't be here. They had to win the ACC. From there, in the Sweet 16, it's some combination of Florida without hand-locked-in Marquette. Who knows what Kolek looks like? Or maybe Colorado, who could be the most dangerous team in this region. The path is there for Kentucky to make a run, but when you have these defensive liabilities, at some point, this comes to an end. As we've seen, when they've had really good stretches in SEC play, it's come to an end at some point for one reason or another, largely just because of their youth. And the last overrated team here, actually a little higher up. We're going to scroll back up. I think the most vulnerable out of your 1 and 2 seeds is Tennessee. They're plus 850 to win the national championship. This team is elite on defense. They fall firmly into the thresholds we mentioned before. But their offense, they're 33rd in total offense. That's outside the top 20-ish mark you need to be in order to win a national championship historically. And this kind of makes sense to me. You don't exactly have the three-point shooters on your team. Connect isn't great at this. He's more of a shot creator, and he plays in isolation in order to get you some buckets at times, which he's amazing at. But it's the same thing that we talked about with Illinois, that we talked about with Kentucky, just in a different version. Do they get enough points out of Connect 6 games in a row to win a national championship? The answer to me is no. You just don't have the complementary pieces. They're awesome on defense, but Zakai Ziegler is more of a pure point guard ball handler. Josiah Jordan-James and Santiago Vescovi have been largely cast aside this year in favor of Connect and Ziegler. You just don't have the offensive firepower for this team to pay off these plus 850 odds. If it was a little longer, could be talked into it, but in this case, just doesn't make a lot of sense. All right, before we get to our long shot section of the program, I want to tell you about an offer we have at OddsShopper. OddsShopper, basically what this is, you have all kinds of sports betting tools to help you become a better bettor. We have a live odds page, which basically just shows you the best place to take these odds. And it's customizable. You can sort by state, by individual sports book, whatever you want. shows you the best place, and it makes a huge difference to your bottom line at the end of the day. There's also a package. This package has all of our tools and our Discord included in one. Tools give you a market-based approach to find plus EV bets across sports. Our Discord is all our experts in there talking about the tools, how we're using them, and what we're taking. It's interactive, so you can ask questions. Even if you just want to hear about a certain game, myself and Ben are happy to explain any college basketball game you want, anything like that. It's $1 for this week. It ends on Thursday at noon Eastern time when the games tip off, so it's a limited time offer, but $1 to get all this, try it out, makes a big difference, and I think you guys will really like it. All right, so who are the long shots? This is the fun part of the program. We want to find the Cinderellas, who's going to the national championship potentially to give you a big payday. You can always look at Final Four odds too. If you don't want to take on as much risk as a national championship, you can find those odds in the market as well. They'll be similar, not quite as hefty with the payouts. First team here, pains my heart, but my Wisconsin Badgers are pretty darn close to a lot of these thresholds. So when you scroll down the list, I would like a better payout at 2,500 than this. So I'm personally not going to take it, but at least wanted to mention the Badgers because they're 15th in offense and 43rd on defense. So again, those thresholds we mentioned, you need to be top 18 in offense. Badgers fall into this range at 15. Top 37 on defense, they're just outside this at 43. So they're a borderline team for me. You can probably find better odds if you shop this, but Wisconsin's right on the verge. From here, New Mexico is the team that I'm very interested in the national championship odds and Final Four odds for that matter, plus 3,300. This team is 39th in offense, 23rd on defense. But the problem is they've had injuries throughout this year. You've had multiple games missed from Jalen House and Jamal Mashburn. So you have an incomplete statistical profile with this team. You've also had players like Donovan Dent miss some time. And even guys like Amsel on the bench have missed games here and there. So you don't have a complete statistical profile with New Mexico. If you had everybody playing every single game, what would this look like? I don't have the answer, but I can tell you it would be a little better than the current 39 offense, 23 defense that we see. Also, this region, they are not big underdogs in any potential matchup. They're favored against Clemson as an 11 seed. Baylor, this game is going to be within 5 points. Any potential matchup from there on out is going to be around 5 points or less. Dayton, Nevada, Arizona, Long Beach State. Statistically, I think Arizona is your weakest 2 seed, assuming Tyler Kolek is fully healthy, and a team that played an incredibly easy schedule in conference play. Non-con, they were up and down with it being pretty tough, but I'm not buying Arizona as a 2 seed. There is a path for New Mexico here. Getting a little longer, shockingly, so this one doesn't meet the thresholds, but I need to talk about it. Nebraska, 6,000. This team is 32nd on offense, 24th on defense. So you don't quite meet the thresholds, but you're right there. I mean, it's a very tough draw for Nebraska. You're basically looking at a game in the second round against Houston, more than likely, and you have no cupcake opponent in Texas A&M. But man, this team has pretty good efficiency metrics. At least wanted to mention them. And then my personal favorite of the long shots is Colorado. 8,000 for Colorado. The problem is you got to play an extra game. You're in a play-in, but we've seen teams in play-ins with success. Michigan State has had success in the play-in. UCLA has had success in the play-in. This team is 25th on offense, 39th on defense, and they've had injuries, a lot of them, largely to Cody Williams, who's a future NBA player for this team. Colorado has strong efficiency metrics for a team this underseeded. We've talked about this region a little bit already. You're likely going to play Marquette in the second round if you win. Marquette plays Western Kentucky. They're big favorites. You have a lot of size for Colorado with De Silva, Cody Williams, and Eddie Lampkin on the inside. Marquette plays a weird style of basketball on offense with Oso Ighodaro being non-existent from 3. He is a stretch 5, and he's awesome in the pick and roll. But you have depth on the interior and size advantages over Marquette. Then your potential Sweet 16 matchup is some combination of Oakland, not likely, Kentucky. We mentioned their defensive woes. NC State, who shouldn't be here. Texas Tech, who doesn't have their big man. So assuming you can get pretty decent play out of a healthy Colorado team, there is a path for them to make an Elite Eight and face off against the Houston team, maybe, who's not healthy. Duke, Wisconsin have their woes. It's not the craziest thing in the world to see Colorado come out of this region. And the odds, you're sprinkling something on a plus 8,000 ticket, could be a big payday for you. All right, that'll do it for us with the Odd Shopper program. If there's some other team I didn't mention you think is pretty good odds or is a strong value, leave it in a comment below. You can also reach out to me on Twitter at Matt_Gajewski. Otherwise, we'll see you guys again next time. Until then, good luck, and we'll see you later.